everybody, it's Rebecca. Look at those clouds. Oh my word. Looks like my watercolor paintings, doesn't it? I am so glad to be back. I feel so much better. Just needed a day of rest, I think. Anyway, I have got a really good one for you today. A new trial that you are not going to want to miss. Stay tuned. Everybody, Crafting Journey here, that Journey Chick over on Instagram. Welcome to another edition of Crafting and Crime Daily, the show where I bring you, first of all, what national day it is, this day in history, but I throw in some true crime. I like to cover live trials. So I'm continuing the coverage of Nicholas Cruz, the mass shooter for Parkland, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. He is on trial to determine whether he gets the death penalty or life in prison. He's already pled guilty to 70-some counts of murder and attempted murder and so on and so forth. Yes, I haven't been knitting because I am waiting for some new needles to come in the mail, and then I'm going to start this over. Yeah, I know. It's for the 8th time, I think, 9th. I don't know. I lost count. But that's okay, because this is how I learn. I also like to craft while I'm talking about the true crime. And, yeah, give you something to listen to while you craft. Don't forget to hit the like button. He loves the abuse. Today, he's going to clean up the kitchen, or I'm going to know why not. Yes. And my sister always says, "You're talking about me." No, I'm talking about the like button. Clean the kitchen. Please consider subscribing if you enjoy the content, and the bell. Don't forget to hit the bell. You want to make sure you hit all so you don't miss a single episode. Okay, I'm done with my spiel for the day. Working on, this is a diamond painting for anybody that's new to the channel. Yep, I am, and I'm having a huge diamond painting event. I'm so excited. That's going to kick off Monday night. Mickey and I are going to do a special kickoff launch of The Great Escape, a diamond painting adventure, landscape adventure. Woohoo! Which one am I doing? Okay. What symbol am I doing? So, oh my gosh. Today is National Water Park Day, which is unfortunate because it is really going to rain. It looks like it's nighttime. You saw my walk. Yeah. In fact, we had to hurry it up because about halfway through it started raining. And, just as we got to the house, it kind of let up, and Stitch was not enjoying the rain. He was like, "We got to get back home, Mom." Duncan kind of wanted to linger, He's like, "Wait a minute, I'm not done with my walk." Yeah, Tootsie doesn't like the rain. She was ready to go home. But we didn't get soaking wet or anything. No, it's just, sprinkles. And I feel so much better. Thanks for letting me take the day off yesterday. I think I had a NyQuil hangover, if you can believe that. Yeah. I went to work though. And I didn't feel terrible, just kind of out of it. My head just didn't feel right. And I had to really think about what I was doing because I was, double and triple checking everything and of course, yes, I made a mistake. And of course, the boss caught it. I looked at, there's letters that we have to get out, and I looked at the wrong dates, the wrong list. But I hadn't done any of the letters yet, so there was no harm. I pulled up the correct list and went on about my day. And I told her, I have a little head cold going on, but I'm here and I'm working, and I haven't sent any letters out, and, all is well. I didn't hear anything back. But, whatever. Still looking for another job. Let's just put it that way. And so is everyone else at work. One girl has already resigned. Another girl is about to. As soon as she gets a job, I think she's out of there. So, yeah. Will the last person in that office that's there turn the lights out? Yeah. That's how I feel. I'm using my granddaughter made me buy these metallic straws, so I save the environment. So like I said, National Water Park Day. That's yummy. National Water Park Day. I have been to all kinds of water parks. I mean, being from Florida, you go to water parks. We had, I lived in the South Florida area, and we had this one pretty large water park. And I remember going, and we were having a great time. I think I had a bunch of kids with me. I don't remember all the details, but this thunderstorm came up. And if there's any place you do not want to be during while you're in a water park is in a thunderstorm. Yeah. Oh my God. And you hear them over the loudspeaker, trying to evacuate everybody from the park. And you see the lightning coming down and you're like, oh my God, just get me to my car. It was pretty scary. But we all got to the car safely, and yeah. But there's, here in Kansas, there are some water parks. The YMCA's have these really cute little water parks. They're not little; they're actually pretty big. But they're not like where they have roller coaster rides or anything like that. But where the kids can go and have fun. But there is a little town called Derby that has a water park. I've not been out there. I'm sure they've gotten a lot of business this summer, in the triple-digit weather, but it should not be hot today at all. So have you ever had a scary water park experience? Or just a really fun water park experience? Do you have a favorite ride? So let's talk about crafting a crime. What you came here for. Let's talk about, I'll update you on Nicholas Cruz, the 2 days that you missed. First, and the most important stuff, more medical examiner testimony that I don't even want to go into it anymore. It's excruciating to watch the parents' reaction when they hear the descriptions of their children's wounds. It's very painful to watch. Taking the stand was a guy named Michael Morrison. He was a gun shop owner. He's no longer a gun shop owner. I'd love to know the story behind that. But he owned a gun shop called Sunrise Tactical Supply. And at the time, he is the individual that assisted Nicholas Cruz in purchasing the weapon that he used during the shooting. And in addition to being the owner, so he was the person that assisted him. So he described that at the time of this purchase, you only had to be 18 years old. And you had to show proper ID. You had to fill out this form. If you did not have a concealed weapons permit, you would have to wait 5 days. There was a 5-day waiting period. If you had a concealed weapons permit, you could take the weapon with you right away. Now, honestly, I never heard which way it went here. Did Nicholas Cruz have a concealed weapon permit, or did he have to wait the 5 days? I didn't hear which way it was with him. Not that it matters. The total cost of the gun was $618.74. And Nicholas, he said he was talking to Nicholas. He says, I always talk to my customers, that are buying these rifles. What are you going to do with this? And Nicholas said, I've got a bunch of friends and we like to go shooting, and I just want my own stuff. So he purchased the gun. So they got the gun out. The prosecutor got the gun out and stood it on the stand. I have a picture here. And the gun owner pointed out all the modifications that had been made after the sale. So I did not know this. It was actually mentioned briefly on the nightly news the other night that they turn these into assault rifles. They turn these sport rifles that don't have all this fancy stuff on them into assault rifles by the addition of a few pieces. And so this gun owner pointed out which pieces were not on this gun. Sorry about my voice. Were not on this gun when he sold it to Nicholas Cruz. So this gun had been modified by Nicholas Cruz to become an assault rifle. I did not know this. Then we get the trail of the cell phone. Okay, so they have to put on everybody that ever touched Nicholas Cruz's cell phone. So the detective gets on and says that he had 3 possible phone numbers for Nicholas Cruz. The day of the shooting, he responded, and he went from floor to floor of the crime scene, calling these various numbers. One number he called was actually a friend of Nicholas Cruz's, and when the guy picked up, he said, I borrowed Nicholas's phone one day, and that's why that's how you got my number. So then he called the last number, and I think it rang in the stairwell, and he picked it up and put it into evidence. So then we follow the trail of whoever touched the cell phone. Then we get an expert in social media. He's a detective, but he works actually in child crimes, which, that's probably not pleasant. He probably goes into the dark web and all that kind of creepy stuff. But he testified about all of Nicholas Cruz's various aliases. And the way they did this is they took his computer and his cell phone and went through Google, and everything that had been searched through this IP address, all the various aliases of Nicholas Cruz, including his mother. And the reason they tied that in is because the searches were so similar to all the others. And I will show you some of the searches here. I'm just going to read out a few because they're quite disturbing. How to become evil in society. Searched for Park shooting. Searched for Charlottesville shooting. Searched how to shoot at 500 yards. Searched for wanting to kill people. Searched for school massacre kids with guns. Searched for Columbine massacre song. Searched for massacre in hotel. So he was just searching all these mass shootings. Then what they also pulled, and I thought this was interesting, through the help of YouTube and Google, they were able to get all of Nicholas Cruz's comments that he made on various videos. And how they did it was this detective searched for anything that had to do with mass shootings, and then they would search to see if he had done any comments. This must have taken forever, but they found the wildest comments this kid had made. He's an adult now, but some of the comments were, I plan on shooting them soon, year 2020, date of massacre unknown, location unknown. Some were in Florida. Just want to kill people. These are all separate comments. I'd rather kill people, 2020. I hide it deep within and think about killing people. The last part makes me scared. What happens when I have no one? I'm 18, still in high school, and everyone is on their way to college while I am there thinking about killing people and ending their lives. I hate my life, and I want to take people with me. Another comment was, I fucking hate humans. I'm going to be a professional school shooter. And it just goes on, and it's just, if you could see the parents' face, they were like, there's this one guy in the audience, and he's the father of one of the deceased, and his expression, he's so expressive. Like, he'll be like, Just watch. You'll know who it is right away because he's so expressive. And then, he'll be crying one minute and the next minute he'll be like, one of the things was, he said in a comment, was that he wanted to see the families suffer. Yet he sits at the defendant's table, hiding his face behind his mask and his hands, doodling on Post-it notes. Then another, and I didn't understand the purpose of bringing this testimony in, but this was a corrections officer that came and testified. He was guarding Nicholas Cruz, and actually the footage where they showed this, Nicholas Cruz was getting his exercise, walking around. They had let him out of his cell, and then they're in these there's a courtyard, an open courtyard. It's all inside, but it's an open courtyard with tables, and then the cells surround this. And so the guard was sitting at one of the tables, and Nicholas was out of his cell, and he was just walking around the tables, round and around and around this table. And his flip-flops, he had these flip-flops that they wear, and one of them broke, and he was just dragging it. And finally the officer tells him, let's go back in your cell and I'll get you a new pair. So I not sure what the conversation was. There was no audio on this, but Nicholas Cruz lunges at this guy and they go down on the floor wrestling. Nicholas grabs his taser out of his holster. They wrestle for the taser. It goes off. It hits the floor. And it must have startled Nicholas, because at this point he kind of gives up resisting, and the officer is able to get him to roll over, and he handcuffs him and gets him back into his cell. And the officer says he had some minor injuries, but he didn't get any medical treatment. And they tried to point out that, you no longer work in that unit, do you? Weren't you put on administrative duty after that? Like pointing out like he did something wrong, the defense. And I'm thinking, what does this have to do with this mass shooting? We know this guy's violent. Just put him in the cell, lock it up, put some food through the thing every now and then until they decide if he's going to, we gotta run the course of all the death penalty appeals that are going to happen after he gets the death penalty. All right, I've said my piece on that. Do I believe in the death penalty? Under certain circumstances, yes. I mean, this guy is truly evil. I just. And you think, okay, he got into jail, he got medicated, for whatever psychosis he's going through to have conducted a mass shooting. And lo and behold, he's still violent. Now, I have the most interesting trial that started, I think it started Tuesday. So I sat last night and I listened to the opening statements because I thought, what is this about? It's not a criminal case. It is a civil case. So the plaintiffs in this case are Neil and Scarlett Heslin, and they are suing Alex Jones and his parent company, which Free Speech something or other. He was doing a radio show. He had a YouTube channel where he would go live a couple of times a week, or maybe every day. I don't recall. I never watched the guy. The channel was called InfoWars, and it was legit. They had reporters, a film crews. It was a huge, big deal. And a lot of Americans watched this guy. Billions of people watched this guy on YouTube. Alex Jones, InfoWars. I had never heard of him. And you're like, Rebecca, where have you been? Well, the plaintiff in his opening statement, the attorney pointed out that, in this country today, there are these pockets of people. We're very divided. And, When I was growing up, we all watched one of the three, NBC, ABC, or CBS. You chose one of those news channels, and that's what you want. That's where you got your news. Even today, I like NBC. I like Lester Holt. That's just, but there are people that get their news from, like my granddaughter, TikTok. They, and so I had never heard of Alex Jones, it was an alternative news station. He did a radio show where you could call in. He did a video the day of the Sandy Hook school shooting in Connecticut. This is where this young man took an assault rifle and went in, and he had apparently shot his mother first. That he got up that morning, took his rifle, shot his mother in the head, left, was driving by the high school and saw a couple of cop cars. So he detoured and went over to the elementary school, where he was able to get into a classroom. He murdered 20 children and 5 teachers. Now, that same day, Alex Jones on InfoWars puts out a video, and the title of that video, Connecticut School Massacre Looks Like a False Flag. So I'm going, what? False flag? So what is a false flag? Back in the day, when we had wars and ships were attacking each other, if you wanted to attack, say, a French ship and you were on a Spanish ship, and this was how the prosecutor explained it, and if you didn't want Spain to get blamed for the attack on the French ship, you would sail, you'd take the Spanish flag down, and you'd put up a British flag, and then you would attack the French ship. So that was a false flag. In this case, this Alex Jones is anti-government, and he thinks everything is a government conspiracy. And he actually, over the next 8 years, this happened in December of 2012, December 14th of 2012. This is when his video came out, December 14th of 2012. And there are pockets of people in this country that just latch onto this kind of thing. They're like, anti-government. And he would espouse all these conspiracy theories. And so he latched onto Sandy Hook, and he made it into a conspiracy that this was all staged by the FBI and the CIA, and it didn't really happen. The parents were actors. I'll go through all the lies that he told. Now, this is not the only case. There are, I think, 3 other cases, a total of 4 cases where parents, Sandy Hook parents, have sued Alex Jones. Now, in this particular case, the judge has already ruled. They've already had a bench trial where she has ruled and said, yes, you are guilty of defaming this family. The only reason they had to assemble a jury was to decide the amount of damages. So it's a bifurcated trial. So this jury has to hear what happened, the whole story, in order to determine the amount of damages suffered by these particular parents. And I believe that each set of parents that are suing Alex Jones, they're going to go through the same thing, determining the amount of damages. Now, Alex Jones was selling, the way he made his money is he was selling supplements. And in order to sell these supplements, people that are gullible enough to buy these supplements, he had to appeal to a certain audience. Gullible people that they're willing to latch on to anything you say. And he was very engaging when he spoke. And people would believe him. And then he would associate himself with these wild extremists, people that, one guy wrote a book about how Sandy Hook didn't really happen, and another guy from Florida was saying it didn't really happen. And he would latch onto these people, and he would bring them on as guests, and they would espouse their theories on his show. It was an entire campaign of lies that went from 2012 into 2020. Even after the litigation started in 21, he was still on his channel. Well, let me just say, he was shut down. InfoWars was shut down off of YouTube in 2018. You won't find it. But he still had his own production. He still produced his own radio show, and he was still out there espousing these theories. And there's going to be a lot of video of us watching him talk about this stuff. Now, his first YouTube strike came after he actually said that they were using photos of the dead children in another fake mass shooting in Pakistan. So that's when YouTube gave him his first strike. Okay, no, that's just crazy. He got his first strike. And then it went on from there. So here are some of the false claims that Alex Jones was making on his channel. Anderson Cooper had done an interview with some of the parents, and Alex Jones claimed that Anderson Cooper didn't go to Sandy Hook, that these parents were in New Jersey. They were actors in New Jersey with him, and there was a blue screen behind him because sometimes you could see his nose disappear on the blue screen. Then he said the school didn't even exist. It wasn't a working school. It was a school that was not open to the public, but this was all set up. So they opened it up to make it look like it was a functioning school. And then afterwards they closed it, and then they tore it down. There was video of kids walking in circles. I don't know what that meant, but he was saying that they would walk out of the front door, walk around the school through the back door, and then come out the front door again to make it look like a lot of kids were involved in being evacuated, that these kids were walking in circles. Well, and he had video of it, but the video wasn't even the Sandy Hook school. It was a different school where they were... it was the end of the day, and there were kids that were, waiting for their parents. It wasn't even Sandy Hook. That there were men in SWAT gear in the woods around Sandy Hook that afternoon. Okay. That there was the mayor of New York, Michael Bloomberg, sent out an email 24 hours before this to all his friends, telling them to get ready, that something was going to happen that they should get behind. Insinuating that Michael Bloomberg had some knowledge that this thing was going to happen. He was saying that they wouldn't allow EMTs into the building, which is just not true. That they made the ambulances wait down the street from the school. That they didn't land any helicopters in, but at no time did he tell you how close the hospitals were. The ambulances would have gotten to the hospital much quicker than waiting for a helicopter. That the death certificates were sealed, which is not true. Anybody can get a copy of these kids' death certificate. You just call up and you pay your $20 and you can get a copy. But then Alex Jones would tell people that, oh no, it's illegal to own a copy of these death certificates. They're sealed, but if you own a copy, you're breaking the law. Then in 2017, I don't know if you guys remember, it was kind of short-lived. Megyn Kelly had a show on NBC, a morning show. She didn't last very long, but she was very anti-Alex Jones. So she decided she's going to have Neil Heslin, the father, on her show with Alex Jones. They weren't on together, but she has Alex Jones on, and then during a next segment, she brings out Neil Heslin. And this father describes, that day, that yes, it really happened, that he actually got to hold his son. One of his last memories of his son is holding him with a gunshot wound in his head. So, of course, Alex Jones jumps on this that day and says, not true, shows video of the medical examiners saying, no, these kids were all identified by the parents through photographs. They were not shown the bodies of their children. In other words, they weren't reunited with the bodies of their children the day of the shooting, like Neil indicated. So this had to be a lie. That Neil had to be lying. He must have forgot his script, is what he was saying. He's an actor and he forgot the script. So at this point, Neil and Scarlett Heslin are, they've had enough. And they file a lawsuit against Alex Jones and his parent company for defamation. And what we're going to hear is an expert that will come in and testify that what was happening was called forced rumination. So when you go through a tragic event, there's the stages of grieving that you have to go through and you have to get over, and you're going through these. And every time Alex Jones would rehash this Sandy Hook web of lies that all of his followers believed, these parents relived this thing again. Instead of trying to get over it, they were like back to square one. So it was torture for them to see and hear this all the time. And it's not that they could, they weren't watching it, but his followers were harassing them. Harassing them, harassing their attorneys. Yeah. And that there was, extensive damage to their reputation. And this caused extensive mental anguish to these two parents. So that is this case. So interesting. So I'm going to follow that. Now, I am still going to bring you the Murdoch family tale. It's just a segment that I'm going to, because it's so so massive that I'm just going to have to bring it to you in pieces. And when we have some time, I'll throw in another piece of it. Yeah, because it's a lot of information for me to be gathering, but I'm still putting together all the information, and I will be bringing the Murdoch family killings to you. Now, we've already had part 1. I will try to bring you part 2. I'll try to do it like once a week where I can bring you a part each week. So part 2 is going to be about Stephen Smith, the first guy that was found in the road labeled as a hit and run back in 2015. So we will cover that next week, the Murtaugh family murders. What happened this day in history? Well, the 14th Amendment was ratified. This is another very important controversial issue now with the most recent ruling of the Supreme Court eroding the 14th Amendment and overturning Roe versus Wade. The 14th Amendment was one of the basis for the Roe versus Wade ruling. There have been many rulings that's why we have same-sex marriage has been ratified through the 14th Amendment. Biracial marriage has been ratified through the 14th Amendment. So many things that are going to be eroded by these conservatives that are trying to run the country and run rampant over most of the people who believe in that we have a right to privacy. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. Yes, because next week on Tuesday, I'm going to Kansas and vote. There's an amendment here in Kansas, and it's just a yes or no vote. Do you believe that the Constitution should be amended to outlaw abortion? Yes or no? And of course I'm voting no. You know, and what the Supreme Court says, oh, no, it's up to the states. No, it's in the U.S. Constitution, the 14th Amendment, right to privacy. Yes, take a look at that. Go back, Supreme Court, and look at the 14th Amendment, which was ratified this day in history. All right. That's my soapbox, guys. You know my soapbox. AR-15s, 14th Amendment, right to privacy. Yeah. You know my soapbox. All right, guys, I do feel better. Thank goodness. It's almost the weekend. Almost. I will see you tomorrow in Crafting and Crime Daily. Bye, everybody. Take care.